All right, as normal, my regular intro, 3, 2, fun. I used to say that when I coached the hockey team. We would leave the little like board meeting or whatever to be like 3, 2, fun, and then I have continued to say it on here. So welcome to another episode of a podcast. Your host Stephen Maxted, and today we have Jordan Pagel with Sustain Health and Performance. And Jordan, we met through, and we were just talking about this. So I'm going to make light of it for a minute, but a series of intros through folks that are connecting on LinkedIn, and it's really cool. That's how we met. We've kind of developed a short-term relationship at this point, and I was wanted to have you on. You spend lots of time on there. I see your story, and I feel like it's a great story to share with others. And so thanks for joining us today and making time. And I'll pass it over to you to introduce yourself and tell the listener a little bit about you.
Yeah. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, my name is Jorden Pagel. I own Sustain Health and Performance. We are a health and fitness coaching company that primarily works with business leaders who are looking to lose weight, optimize their performance, and improve their health. I've been a health coach for almost a decade now, 9.5 years, I think. So I've been doing this for a long time. Got into it after my own transformation, losing almost 100 pounds, and yeah, decided after that I wanted to try and help other people do the same thing, and that was almost 10 years ago at this point.
That's awesome. What was the on that journey for you personally? I hope it's okay that you share what you want on this one. What was the turning point for you, and what was the kind of trajectory, and what was the kind of I've heard this. I actually literally was just listening to a podcast when I was working on this morning from a guy who has a similar journey. Not to take away anything, just to add to your story here, but his name is Mike Fatty. He's actually from Winnipeg, and he interviews a lot of folks in the food industry, and he has a similar story. And someone he had on today was saying like they had like kind of a wake up moment of they had had a couple surgeries and were kind of down and were just filling that void with different things. That was their story. Anyways, well, how did you hit that moment of yeah, turn things around?
Yeah, I guess it was kind of filling a void of a different respect. I guess it was more. I had moved back home. I'd started working in sports at the time, and I lived in a relatively small town. So there wasn't a ton to do, especially in Wisconsin when it's, I'm sure when it's cold. Um,
Yes.
several a year. I don't like any of the cold activities. So really, it was just kind of like I went to the local YMCA. I had a membership there. My dad worked there part time, and so like they had hot tub, the steam room, like all those kind of cool amenities that I enjoyed using. And I figured as I got to be good friends with a lot of the people there, and they would like work out in the workout room and BS and talk stuff, really shop and all that kind of stuff. And so it was just kind of like, oh, I'm here, I might as well start doing something. And I just started, like, the only thing I really changed was I just started exercising more regularly. And I wouldn't even say I did it in the most effective or efficient way, looking back, but I just started and, would periodically weigh myself and see like, oh, I'm losing some weight. This is, this is nice. And that just kind of snowballed into, okay, I'm seeing these results. What can I do to make it better? I got the exercise down now. I'm consistent with it. What else could I be doing? And so, it still took me about 4 years to lose that weight, but it was just the process of, wanting to fill some time. And once I started becoming consistent with that, wanting to, learn more about the whole process. And yeah, that kind of just snowballed and led to that those results.
That's awesome. Just totally started with routine and then turned into a transformation
Yeah, yeah.
ultimately for you. That's so awesome. I heard this story one time about this guy. Hopefully, again, this adding in here a lot of things, but I heard another thing I'd heard on a podcast was this guy actually didn't work out for the first like 30 days, but he just drove to the gym and hung out there for 5 minutes. And him getting in the routine of going to the gym was his bigger obstacle than anything
Mhm.
to like shift that. And I heard this from him, I was like, that's crazy. And then one day he started working out, and then that was the shtick, and he just stayed for short periods of time. It was nothing, you know, substantial, because I think a lot of the time we do see the end result appearing to be very quick and easy online,
Mhm.
and everything has a timeline, because you have, I think I said this last year, just kind of, I go through phases of working out lots, and different stresses, things happen. Like probably a lot of your clients go through the same thing. We'll have to talk after this about that part of things. Like stresses, and just, yeah, stress is a huge thing. You probably talk about that lots within. We'll probably talk about it today too. But even when working out and eating okay, like it just seemed like weight was getting on, and then getting back on that train. Um, it's just like it's yeah, the habit was important, to just get back into and break into that 20-minute cardio, or 30-minute weight routine, and then it becomes way easier after that. Um, you start to see the results, and that's always nice.
Yeah,
Sometimes it doesn't happen right away though.
right. Yeah, exactly. And the approach that I take with a lot of people, especially people who, are new or have had trouble being consistent, or um, just are very irregular in their routine, is kind of like you said, starting with that something small. Because I think the biggest problem that most people have is especially when it comes to, well, I think when it comes to business or health and fitness, or whatever, is they really overwhelm themselves into inaction. They think that they have to do
Yeah,
everything at once, because is subconsciously or consciously, as humans, we're just wired for instant gratification, and we want the results now. We want to get out of pain as quickly as possible. And we think the best way to do that is to dive headfirst into trying to do everything. And what I found is that more often than not, that just leads to people getting frustrated when they can't stay consistent or be perfect. And ultimately, they just end up giving up altogether. Whereas a majority of results are going to come from minority of your effort. It's the few things done consistently for long periods of time are always going to beat trying to do everything inconsistently over and over again, which is where most people struggle.
absolutely. Oh, it just popped back in my head. The one line I was thinking of, I said it out loud. It was like 200 days of bad habits is not going to get fixed in 20 days.
Right.
Is like a thing that I said to myself after being 20 days into I did like that 75 hard thing. Just to get back in routine. I was just like, oh, I got to do something, like just to stick to for a bit. And I'm like, I have all the gym stuff. Like whatever, I have been in, phenomenal shape before. I used to do like triathlon and still do them.
Mhm.
But I was like, yeah, and then that kind of like really stuck. That was just the thing I said to myself one day. I was like, "You did this to yourself over, last like year or whatever, but snap out of it and just get going. It's not going to happen overnight." Um, Self-talk there. But what's the first thing that a lot of folks like look to do in their routine when you're chatting with them? Obviously, I would assume many people are different in what they'd like to do, and you're saying, I could totally see getting caught up in, you know, chatting with you, and then all of a sudden it's like, someone will want to take on the world, and
Mhm.
get that membership, swim twice a day, whatever the thing is. But how do you start slow, when someone comes in and wanting to make that change?
Yeah, so I think the thing that I look for initially is just like, what is going to be the biggest needle mover in terms of helping this person first and foremost feel better. Because I think a lot of people, when they're struggling with their weight or their health or whatever, like deep down, they just don't feel good. They don't feel good mentally. They don't feel good physically. They don't have a lot of energy. And so really it's looking for, what is the thing that we're going to be able to implement consistently that is going to, over the first couple weeks, just get them feeling better, feeling more positive. Because if you're in a bad mental state or you don't feel good, it's going to be really hard to build any new habits, whatever they are. And so it's really looking at, okay, what are they currently doing? Are they somebody who does work out consistently or enjoy working out consistently, but maybe has trouble with that with their schedule or whatever? So oftentimes I find that the easiest wins and the thing that's going to provide the biggest benefit are, your workouts. It's going to help you increase your energy. You're going to feel good. You're going to feel accomplished. And so just giving people that accountability oftentimes is the biggest difference maker for them between doing something and not doing something. Because going back to what you said earlier, you know, it's not necessarily doing the workout that's the problem. It's getting to the gym oftentimes. That is the
Yeah.
biggest barrier. And once you're there, you know, you're going to do something. And once you do something, you're going to feel good. And so it's just giving them that accountability to start being consistent with their workouts or getting outside for a walk or moving more. Because I definitely think in today's world where, you know, we're sitting in front of a computer all day, we're on Zoom calls, um,
Fact.
you know, you just don't, yeah, you just don't get any, you just don't get the movement that your body really needs in order to feel your best. And so, you know, getting them feeling good, getting them moving, and then from there, it's really identifying, okay, what are the biggest what's the next biggest obstacle that's been holding them back in terms of losing weight or, you know, whatever their goal is, and implementing the simplest process that we can that is going to start helping them get the results that they want. Because if something like went back to what I said earlier, something's like too complicated or you try to throw too much at somebody at once, more often than not, that's kind of what they've been struggling with as it already has been. So that's not really going to do a lot for them. So it's really like implementing simple processes and getting those stacking those wins, because ultimately that's going to what start helping them see the results that they're after.
That's awesome. How long do you find, and with folks, everyone's different, open with that one, but how long do you find it would normally take before someone starts to come to you and you can like see either like on screen or in person? I'm assuming you're doing a mix of both here with folks that they're feeling better and you're seeing like that energy kind of shift. 'Cause you can kind of tell when someone's either even on the phone, you know, a good friend or whatever, you can tell that they're something good's hopefully going on in their end of things. But how long does that normally take for that shift to kind of happen for folks on average?
I would say on average, probably 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Typically, like with my clients, we do weekly check-ins, so we're always assessing how things are going, assessing their compliance, assessing how they're feeling. And typically, you know, the first week or two for a lot of people is adjusting, because they are typically adjusting to a new routine. Obviously, we're trying to help them do things consistently that they haven't been able to do on their own. So there's an adjustment period, but I typically find in weeks 2 to 3 that 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 you start to see that shift. You start to see them feeling the results of the habits that they've started doing consistently. And almost always by the end of our first month working together, um, you know, they're reporting that they're feeling difference in their energy, how they're feeling over the course of the day. You know, even starting to just feel a difference in how they look when they look in the mirror in the mornings. Obviously, seeing the scale go down is a big part of that as well. But in terms of, you know, just feeling that difference, it normally will happen in a couple of weeks. You know, once we start implementing the right habits and more importantly giving them the accountability that they need to finally stay consistent with those. Because oftentimes when I'm speaking with somebody, you know, in DMs or on a consultation call, is like they know 90% of the time what are the things that they need to be doing. They just aren't doing them consistently. And that is ultimately, I believe, the biggest benefit to having a coach or a mentor is you get that accountability, somebody to hold your feet to the fire and say, like, these are the things that you need to be doing. And that ultimately is what I think makes the biggest difference for people.
Definitely. Sometimes that voice in the head takes the easy route.
Yep.
You
More
know,
often
instead of
than not,
the app, you know. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say more often than not, we're gonna let ourselves off the hook, um,
Yeah.
until we learn how to build the habits and see the positive effect that those habits have on us. It's always easier to take the easier route than to do the hard things. But once those hard things become easy, then then it's much easier to stay consistent with them.
Yep. No, definitely. And so, and I mean, I'm, as everyone knows, kind of doing their own research, having the website on here, some fantastic before and afters on here just to highlight kind of what the result can look like for different folks. And you know, I'm sure that they have had different goals when you're doing the first meetings and stuff, but it's really cool to see that you've had that level of success with folks on here. And now you're not just looking at I mean, what kind of skirting around it so far. We'll get into the not just like the fitness side, but diet side as well. Do you spend some time working with folks on that, and what does that look like?
Yeah, 100%. So we take what I call like a fully comprehensive approach because um, nothing in our bodies or in our lives work in isolation. Like everything affects everything is something that I like to say. And so, you have to make sure that what you're doing as far as exercise matches with how you're eating, matches with your routine, your sleep, your stress, all that kind of stuff. And how you're eating has to match the amount of exercise you're doing. And so we're always making sure that, um, we're not just matching someone's plan to their goals, but to their lifestyle as well, and making sure that everything is working synergistically with each other. Because I think a lot of the the common approaches that people take is, I'm going to start exercising more and I'm going to start eating less. Well, that only works for a certain amount of time because all those things produce certain changes within your body. They create different
Totally.
levels of stress, and if those things aren't working together properly, um, it's gonna that's where a lot of people run into trouble. They get burnt out. And so making sure that our clients are eating the right kind of food, making sure that they're eating the right amount of food, not just for their goals but for their lifestyle as well. I find that that approach is really what helps optimize their results and allows them to maintain it longer, because you have to burn yourself out just to lose a little bit of weight. The chances that you're going to be able to sustain that is very unlikely. And so when we mesh everything together and making sure that everything is working in a way that's going to keep you feeling good, that's really where I feel like we stand out above a lot of what I would say like cookie cutter approaches, is just making sure that everything is completely optimized for maximum health at the end of the day, because that's what it's all about.
Awesome. No, I super like that. I've been on kind of both ends of that, I guess, right now, cutting a little bit. Speaking of my own like journey, but then when I was really heavy into triathlons and stuff like that, the harder part was fueling up. I
Yeah.
remember having like enough yeah, stuff at the time, like we're heading towards training for like Ironmans and stuff like that. And the harder thing was eating enough food
Mhm.
um, to kind of fuel and make sure, yeah, it's good food. I mean, you can kind of get away with filling if it's just stuff that's around for a bit, but ultimately going towards like some specifics. For me, I don't know if we're sharing or whatever, but I mean, this farmer had like grass-fed meat and stuff. He was on the podcast on one of the episodes. If you look back, he's a local guy here, and I just found I had to eat, yeah, less of that meat. That was more nutrient dense, and I guess is where I went to, and just kind of went back to finding different sources and stuff like that for him, and kind of going right back to the farm for
Right.
a couple of products and filling that way, and then adding a couple of supplements and vitamins, and like how leveled off. But I remember there was like a week of me just being like so spacey. It was like I was kind of like floating, and I'm like, oh, what's wrong? Like I'm good shape. Like it shouldn't be happening. What's going on here? And kind of self discovered. I just needed to like kind of eat more, and probably could have used some advice from someone like yourself in that situation, because it's not good on either end of that. Whether you're trying to lose some weight out of the front or maintain like that healthy status. But luckily, someone in the group that we train with is good advice to
Yeah.
kind of help with some of it. They've gone through that before, so but yeah, it was interesting because you're just burning so many calories in a day if you're biking, swimming, and running
Yeah.
consistently. So yeah, burning too hot.
Right. Exactly. And at the end of the day, like, regardless of if your goal is to lose weight or, like you said, training for some specific event, like at the end of the day, it's about performance, because not just the gym, like on a daily basis we have to be able to perform at our jobs, run our businesses, be present in our relationships, be there for our kids. All those things um, are affected by how we feel. And so making sure that, even if we're trying to help somebody lose weight, how can we do that in a way that is still going to allow them to perform their best in every single facet of their life? Because if you can drop 20-30 pounds really quickly, but if you feel like absolute garbage every day during that process, what good is that? What good is losing that weight if you feel terrible?
Totally. Yeah. Really good point. What's the more like creative thing that you get folks to do as general? Is there something unique that you try to get folks in on the fitness side of things at all, or in diets that's maybe not as common, but
Yeah, I would say like encouraging and helping people um, get and understand blood work, because that
cool.
is something that unfortunately is not really prioritized by a lot of doctors or things like that. Like
Oh
I
yeah,
I have to help clients. Like there, thankfully nowadays there are a lot of different online wellness companies that will help you get access to blood work through independent laboratories and stuff like that, because there's a legit need for that, because most doctors unfortunately don't look at that as deeply as they should. Like, yeah, a lot of people get blood work at their end of physical with like cholesterol and all those kind of basic things, but our
right.
bodies operate on so much more than that. Things like testosterone and estrogen and progesterone for women specifically, and thyroid, vitamin D, all these other things, unfortunately, don't get tested, don't get looked at unless, a patient asks for them. And even then, like I have patients tell me their doctors like push back on that and like won't order them those basic tests that literally affect how we feel and perform on a day-to-day basis. So helping them get access to blood work through partnership that I have with an online wellness company, and then helping them understand what all that means as well.
Right.
Because like I said, it's not something that a lot of clients who come to work with me have never had blood work done before, and they're in their 30s or 40s or 50s, and they've never had these tests done and don't
Yeah.
understand the impact that those things have on their day-to-day life.
No kidding. That's awesome. I have chatted very lightly about this before, actually, on another episode. I'm so glad that you went there on this one because I thought it was very interesting and fascinating as well. And I think you nailed it too. It's something that is, of detail and getting a little older. Some guys are chatting about like testosterone levels and in the friend group, we'll call it. And it's something I never really thought about before and
Mm,
really still feeling okay. But it's good to hear other guys like chat about that because they've noticed how important that is and to discuss either different strategies on their fitness side or we'll call it supplements, whatever to help them if they've had a dip on that because it can certainly affect, like you said, a lot of things. And I mean, I've heard it firsthand from them,
yeah,
about how it can affect, yeah, mood and how their fitness is going, frankly.
yeah.
Working really hard, but just spinning the tires on seeing any progress there. So, um, that's very. How often do folks get that tested, or should they, or is it just like at the beginning of this thing, and then you kind of work off that, or I'm assuming it's probably like a check-in for
Yeah,
them.
I recommend for the average person 1 to 2 times per year.
Yeah.
If you get your blood work done and you see that something is off in one area or another, probably then every 12 to 16 weeks, because at that point you want to like implement specific protocols to help address those things. And always, we look at lifestyle first: sleep, stress management, diet. Those are the three biggest things that are going to affect our hormone levels and just how our body is performing. So it's always um, looking at what we can improve in those three areas. Occasionally, implementing supplements. And then for some people, looking at the option of hormone replacement therapy as well. Especially as people get older, um, our bodies just don't produce hormones the way they do, when we were younger. No matter, and this can be no matter how much you change your lifestyle. Sometimes you just need that additional help. And for my clients who have gone down that road, I know it's been a life changer for them, just in terms of quality of life. Because at the end of the day, I think people think of hormone replacement therapy or testosterone as like a performance thing or a body composition thing, and certainly you will have um, positive effects from that, but it's just really overall quality of day-to-day life, your energy levels, your sleep, um, sexual function. Obviously it affects so many different things. And so
Yeah.
um, and so that's why I'm such a big believer in it, and really try to educate and encourage my clients to um, to go down that route and get that understanding for themselves.
Awesome. I'm glad you went down that path too. Probably won't dive like super deep into this, but the sexual health thing, I just bought a book a little while ago. It popped up on like my Amazon thing for different things that I was reading, both like business and health stuff. It's called The 4 Hour Body, I think, or something. It's sitting behind me. It's like way bigger than I thought when they delivered it. It's like a giant, massive book, but they on the front of it, it was like diet, exercise, and sexual health was one of the things that they like have literally on the front of it. I was more interested in like the diet and other stuff initially, but I haven't really even cracked it besides the front couple of pages. But a few years ago, I got really into the Blue Zone book. I don't know if you're familiar with that one too.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I got that in like the kitchen there, and I really like the concept that they kind of do in there. It's not always practical for the diet side of things all the time, because not everyone has all the options that they have, and to kind of their overall too is more of like the slow paced lifestyle, right, within that
Mhm.
book. And it's like, hey, like, enjoy the tea and coffee in the morning and at night, have wine, but sit for like 3 hours while you eat. And through traveling, I've kind of experienced witnessing some of what's called cultural things, like in Costa Rica. That was very common with South American folks there traveling through. It was way chill and more
Yeah.
focused on diet, very different diet than North America. I'm in Canada or in the States, and it's not really like that. It's more like fast paced, go go. It's just so easy, right? You go and grab a coffee. If you're hungry, you're kind of picking off the menu, on the screen there. There was some Starbucks drive through the other day, and they have everything listed off there. Thankfully, I think to some regard they have the calories listed there, or they were forced to kind of like do that. And that's nice to see. I just usually try to pick something with higher protein myself if I'm going through there instead of getting the cinnamon bun that I want. Only get that once in a while
Right.
from those locations. But sorry, I don't know where I was going. But it was good that you mentioned the sexual health. That's definitely a big thing that we don't talk about like enough. Obviously, as a little bit of like faux pas to probably bring up, but it's reality. If you don't want to talk that in front of folks, you should go like make sure everything's working behind the scenes there, because that could very much affect your mental health too.
Oh
And
yeah,
it
and
becomes a cycle, right? That it's everything like you said initially too. Everything's interconnected. What was the wording that you used? Everything is,
I said everything affects everything.
yeah, there you go. Yeah. And it's super true with that topic alone there. Everything's intertwined.
Right.
Your eating could affect that, and what if that happens, that could affect your eating.
Yeah.
Vice whatever that cycle would look like. So that's really cool.
Yeah. It's definitely, I think, something I find that most people don't have a great understanding of, in terms of just how different parts of our lives intertwine with one another. And the way that what I really enjoy about the way that we do things with our clients is doing check-ins and being able to point out, um, you know, why somebody might be struggling with sleep, or why they may be feeling low energy, or the positive benefits that reducing the amount of days that they're working out in a week can have on how they feel, on their stress levels, and being able to
Right.
just help them become more empowered to make and understand the decisions that are going to help them feel and perform their best on a day-to-day basis. Because at the end of the day, when I started, I had no clue how different all these different things affected how you feel and perform, and subsequently weight loss and body composition. But when you have that understanding, that's what helps you make better choices and build better habits, because you're making
Totally.
choices based on wanting to feel your best, not necessarily just what you want in the moment. Like you said, that cinnamon
Yeah.
bun or whatever it is.
Once in a while. It's
Yeah.
that one is particularly like a guilty pleasure of mine for sure. Love cinnamon buns.
Yeah.
Um, what? You're totally nailing it though too, because I know in other times historically, even like working out lots, but maybe not getting the results. And I should say like not lots in terms of overdoing it, but I felt great. I've had other times was playing hockey as a young man, and remember like didn't like look crazy chiseled, but I remember like I just felt awesome. You're doing so much cardio
Mhm.
at that time, and just like everything feels great. It's not until you kind of like fall off that routine that you notice how great you felt. And
Yeah.
hopefully some people have had that experience of being like at that level of, because you're just like, oh wow, like that was awesome. I don't know if I could necessarily like dedicate the time right now between other balancing things to get back to that level of cardio in many ways. But yeah, if you can get partway there, you feel a lot better. I don't know. It's weird to describe it until you've like kind of experienced probably that higher. a
Right.
change within that, you know, and it's great if you can stay at a higher level the whole time, but sometimes that's not reality either, right? Life happens.
Yeah, and it's about balance, but I think that again, going back to kind of what I said is like when you know what makes you feel good, like you begin to crave that more than anything. And I think that unfortunately, um, whether it's from stress or decades of bad habits or whatever, people don't know or don't remember what it's like to feel great. They just kind of feel how
Yeah.
they feel. I think feeling tired and run down
Yeah.
and overworked and stressed is just normal. And I mean, stresses are normal for sure, but it's not normal to like just feel meh every day. And once
Mm.
people understand, like, what are the simple changes that they can make that are going to help them feel better, and like you said, they actually get to feel that, they're like, oh, okay, I understand now why this is so important and the positive effects that it has, not just on how I feel, but the rest of my life as well.
Awesome. No, that's great. And you know, something I just flipped over here too, but I think you do a great job on the blogs here, taking a skim through here before, and I think you have a lot of information for folks in general that you've just provided as kind of like, I'll call it like probably a teaser to your program ultimately. But it looks like you have an in-depth piece in here. One thing that I don't know if I didn't see it. Oh, there's way more down here. Didn't see right away, but I'll ask because I wear one. But like I have like a smartwatch and Apple Watch here. Do you encourage folks to use that as like a tracking tool, or do you utilize some tech like that to help kind of gauge some things? Because I know like this isn't nothing's perfect. Sometimes I forget to wear it. Like this morning I didn't wear it for the workout, so I don't know how many calories I burned on that. But say Livy, you know, I got a good workout in. But my very type A personality likes to track and know different things. And like for cycling, I use Strava a fair bit um, to see how I perform versus other people on different stretches of road. And
Yeah.
anyways, there was just like an update on here recently, and I saw it got way more intense. But I know other watches do great feedback too, and would probably help. So
Yeah, I have an Aura ring, so
ooh,
that tracks sleep, it tracks recovery,
yeah, yeah,
tracks steps and stuff like that. I definitely think there's a lot of benefit. I don't like use them as part of my program
right,
necessarily. Like if somebody has them or invests in them, definitely take that data into consideration because I think every piece of data is helpful. But I also don't think it's
yeah,
helpful to get caught up on any one piece of data either.
yep,
And so like with the Aura ring, for example, like you might show that you have poor sleep, um, or poor recovery, which is something to consider, but also you want to consider how you feel too. Like you don't want to let the number on your device take away from those other metrics that you
right,
look at as well. Like, oh, I didn't sleep well last night, but so I'm not going to work out, even though like I'm feeling great and I have a lot of energy and that kind of stuff as well. Like it's important. It's more important, I think, to pay attention to the trends over time than necessarily like any one reading or something like
for
that. Like if
sure,
you have poor sleep 4 or 5 nights in a row, okay, that's definitely something we want to look at and figure out what's going on here because that could be a precursor to feeling bad later on. But I think like anything, I think there's got to be a balance to it. You can't put too much stock in any one specific thing.
100%. Yeah, for sure. I know that there's, I mean, some things I don't read right on here, like, and I'm sure that they're improving the tech as it goes. That's probably why they did the update, but that's cool that you wear the Oura ring. I've heard lots about it. Have some friends and family that have that and love it. And I got the Apple Watch truly initially just because I couldn't keep track of the swimming side of things on the try. I would just still head down in my own world swimming in the pool, but you can track the laps and stuff like that instead of me
Yeah,
being like, how many did I do? I mean,
right.
it's okay to lose count, but I wanted to know like, hey, am I doing like enough to be good at this race, basically? Like if I lost track and I was doing way more, wonderful. But um trying to figure out timing there. But yeah, I think it's a cool tool for sure. I mean, I don't live and die by it. If I don't fill the 3 rings on here because I set a goal, it's not the end of the world. But I mean, it's also a good reminder too to, hey, dude, get off your butt. Yesterday you were sitting down. If the step count's really low or something, right?
Yeah,
But
and I think that anything that can help bring more awareness to people about their own health is a very positive thing.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and like you said too, with a grain of salt, because you don't want to get down on yourself because you didn't, forgiving yourself for having a day off or a couple of days off if you're traveling, you got a wedding, you got, I don't know, something else that you're
Yeah.
traveling for where it's just like it's off, and just remembering to get back on that routine. I know I often do. I travel a little bit more for some of the work that I do off screen, and there's you always, it's hard to fit it in, but if you can, I forgot my gym shoes last time I was traveling, so I still fit in the workout. I walked in my socks down to the gym, got in there, did a little bit of a routine, but I couldn't go for like a run or anything on the treadmill because that wouldn't, or I don't know how to run barefoot well enough yet to say
Yeah.
that would have been a success. But yeah, just trying to stick to that routine, but it is tough to get back on if you fall off even for a week. I know sometimes it's like, oh, like I could just take it easy.
Yeah.
And so getting back on there, that's probably very helpful for the accountability calls that you do with your folks. And are they, how do you structure those with people, and how long do those normally go for when you're checking in with them?
Yeah. So check-ins is every week. I'll have everybody fills out like a form with a bunch of questions that go over like their energy, their sleep, look at digestion, stress, and then obviously compliance with nutrition and training and their plan as well. And then I'll use that and I will assess kind of how things are going. Are we seeing the progress that we want? Is there something that is off in one area or another that we want to make sure that we get ahead of or address? And then I'll provide them feedback. And then every couple months we'll do a call and kind of assess where things are at and then map out the next couple of months and stuff like that. But it just like this week, for instance, like we do check-ins on Monday and Tuesday, after after a holiday weekend here in
Right.
the States. Like that's like not giving people the opportunity to really kind of stay off track. Like all my clients, once when they, all the ones that have done their check-in so far, they're like, yeah, things were off for a little couple of days out of routine, but I'm getting right back on track this week. And, I always, my message to clients around the holidays, especially, is like, what are you going to be like, act how you would be proud to share with me in your check-in next week. Like, if you're going to be, like, if you're going to be okay with the decision that you make and you're to share that with me, then, go ahead. The holidays are only a couple days out of the year. We're not looking for perfection. I want you to enjoy yourself. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's about, taking care of yourself and building good habits for the long term. So again, it's about that balance, but providing that accountability and like knowing that they have to check in every single week if they want to see success, really helps motivate people. Because at the end of the day, I think that's why accountability works so well, is we want to please other people. We want other people to be proud of us. We want other people to like us. And while that's not really the point of a check-in and accountability, that's why accountability works. And so,
Yeah.
providing that structure and that place for them to, have to share what happened, good or bad, I think is a very powerful tool, regardless of your goal is to lose 30 pounds or, build a six-figure business. Like, yeah, accountability is often the missing key for most people.
I think you nailed it. We'll call it right there. No, no, that was really great, Jordan. I think that you're very right though too, right? Especially if it is, as much as possible, like an unbiased uh, person as well. Someone
Yeah.
too close to you, it's almost like doesn't really work either. It's great to have friends to do that, workout routines with, and maybe that is like good enough for some folks. But at the end of the day, like, are you really committing to your bigger goal? You're just part of a routine with somebody else
Right.
that has a routine, or
Yeah.
maybe they have the coaching going on there and stuff. So I think that is really awesome, and a great mention for probably the folks that are, you're kind of looking for, and folks that are looking for you are in that space. Like they're answering to a few other people, but usually not about their health side of things.
Mhm.
Um, and definitely makes sense to me what you're doing here, and how you're helping people improve their life. And I'm sure that that's probably the most rewarding part of your role. I mean, it's one thing to see the photo, but you get to experience that with that person on the journey. I didn't really ask you that, but I'm just assuming that that is probably more the fulfilling side of the role, and your business to a heightened degree, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who struggled with their weight for 24 years, I mean, technically, is when I really started making sustainable changes. I understand what it feels like to feel stuck, to feel like you can't change something
Right.
and not really be happy with where you're at. And so being able to see people make those changes that they, previously may have thought were impossible or that couldn't happen for them is definitely, I have to say, the most rewarding part of, working with people, because that's something that I've personally experienced myself. And I can definitely understand, where they're at, and feel that excitement along with them when they finally do get to that point.
Okay. That's awesome. Joe, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Someone hear this and they're interested to. I mean, we looked at I have the website here on the other end here, and it's sustainhealthperformance.com. Um, but I know you mentioned some other social medias. Just want to make sure I get them right, so I'm going to throw them over to you to make sure you share that with the listener here. And um,
Yeah, sustainhealthperformance.com is our website. Currently undergoing some changes there. I'm making some updates there. But you can sign up for our weekly newsletter there every Saturday. We have a newsletter that goes out that gives you some tips and strategies, and just helping you improve your overall health, your routine, your habits, regardless of whether your goal is to lose weight or just be healthier. By the time this episode comes up, we'll probably have a bunch of new resources, free resources up on the website too. Um, for people to grab. But best way to get in touch with me is through any one of my social media channels: Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn is the big one for me. So that's always the best way to get a hold of me.
awesome. And it's just your name on LinkedIn and or like the company name, correct? Because you have a
Yeah,
page for both of
just
these.
my name. Everything, we have, the company is Sustain Health Performance, but everything's under, my brand on social media, Jorden Pagel. So yeah, you just gotta search me, and I should pop up.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'm looking forward to continuing following your journey here, Jordan. And I know we'll talk and keep in touch off here, but I just want to say thanks so much for hopping on and sharing your story. And hopefully this connects with some of the right people to that you can help along their journey. So thanks again for being on today, and we'll chat with you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, and I hope some people got some value out of their time for listening today.
Absolutely. Awesome. Take care.